Welcome to the second of our Geocaching Podcast Profiles recording. And we're here today with Sam and Mark of the OB Podcast. Thanks, guys, for joining us. It's, early afternoon over there in the UK right now?
It's 2 o'clock. What are you laughing at?
I've just heard our Are you ready?
Are we playing?
Yes.
We're playing what we recorded earlier.
Uh-oh.
Is that better, Sam?
That is better.
Is that better?
That is better.
That's a good start.
As always.
Yes.
Nothing like a little bit of extra audio for distraction.
Would you like me to push this button?
Press that button there.
I pushed that button.
And press that one there.
I pushed those buttons.
There you go.
We'll push the buttons.
Yes, we've got the buttons pressed. Yes. And now Sam comes first, Daryl.
Yes, I figured that was mandatory.
As the voice of podcasting.
Exactly.
Yes. So it's a good start there, wasn't it? That was brilliant.
Well, according to Scott Burks, I think Sam always must come first.
Yes. That is the rules.
Is that the rules?
That is the rules.
Is he your number one? Is he your number one fan?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, though, because I figured after Sam was hitting on Scott's girlfriend, that might have changed a little.
Oh, raking up the past.
Never happened. Never happened.
That's nasty. That's nasty. So I've got a question before we get into this. Have you scheduled this for 2 o'clock on a Sunday so I'm awake?
Well, a little bit of that, and also it happens to be when the girlfriend's at work.
Yeah, same here. Sam's girlfriend's at work.
No, your girlfriend.
Yeah, Sam. Yeah, joke.
Good banter.
Bants, top bants.
Banter.
Yeah. How are you doing, Daryl?
I'm doing pretty well. We had some issues getting started this morning with audio coming across on Google Plus, so that gave me a little bit of a start.
Yeah, that was worrying. That was really worrying. And then we decided we're going to play our episode that we recorded earlier.
Hey, might as well give us a little bit of a preview, though I think it's going to be post by the time this actually gets out.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, more than likely, if I can be bothered.
Well, aside from the offensiving and a little bit of geocaching, what is the OB Geocaching Podcast?
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who, apparently.
And when you hear this new episode, much more.
Yeah, yeah. I saw it as a family podcast, as in we'd sit down together as a family and record a podcast about geocaching.
Yeah, not family friendly, but
it started as family friendly.
Not anymore.
And then he happened.
No.
Yeah.
You started it this time.
I did start it this time, but that's how we thought it. We got together as a family, sat around the kitchen table, literally in the background. Is this video going out as video as well?
Yeah. We're actually doing live streaming too, though. No one seems to be in the stream right now.
Interesting.
You're live, Sam.
We are live.
And nobody wants to watch.
I'll try not to fall asleep.
Yeah. So literally this table behind us here is where we all sat round. And back then we used to print, what was that, 2013, October 2013, and we'd print show notes because, we didn't have enough
equipment.
Enough screens or tablets or whatever. So we sat there with printed show notes. You can imagine rustling paper into the mic and more noise than he normally makes.
How very rude.
And if you look behind you, Sam, there, get that box. Banging the mic always sounds good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And that is the first mic we recorded on.
It was one mic for everyone.
USB 2 HQ podcast vocal microphone.
Wow. Yeah, and as I recall, you had some early technical issues with that as well, including forgetting to select that microphone when you were recording.
Yeah, we did 4 shows before we got proper equipment. All 4 with that mic, and 2 of the shows we recorded with the mic not turned on.
Yeah, so you were on the internal microphone from the laptop.
Yep, exactly. Stop laughing at me. Yeah, that.
And he's the professional one.
No, I wasn't professional. That's the problem. When you start out, you're making up as you go along, aren't you?
We still do that.
Yeah, true. But that was embarrassing.
It never happened.
No, prove it. Because the sound quality didn't sound any better, any less.
Bad. bad.
No, any worse
And
than using that mic over there.
true.
Well, and that's one of the issues that a lot of podcasters getting started, it's you don't want to spend a whole lot of money. So how do you get into it with as little hardware as you can, especially when you've got a family podcast? You figure, okay, we're going to sit around with one microphone.
Yeah.
And, everyone just talks a little louder and it works out.
I think you pointed out at the time, Sophie got drowned out. In fact, all the kids got drowned out by my voice because I was booming into the mic.
Yeah, Sophie was especially quiet, though, as I recall.
Yeah, because the voice wasn't quite as deep as probably even Sam's or Ben's was.
Right. Well, and one of the issues that a lot of female podcasters run into, vocal mics tend not to be tuned for female voices. And they're kind of intended to reject some of those higher and lower tones. So like a lot of very deep male voices don't work well unless you're using like drum microphones, which is actually what this RE27 that I use is actually designed as a drum microphone.
Yeah.
You have to find that sweet spot if you really want to do it to find the perfect microphone. But it's not going to be one mic works well for a whole table of people in a podcasting thing. If you're just trying to record like your meetings for work, fine, it's not going to be as big a deal. But like you were saying, it was kind of painful to listen to some of those first episodes because of the audio issues.
Yeah, and plus when you're first doing it, it's the editing as well.
Well, that's you don't have good quality audio coming in.
No.
It makes it so much more difficult to edit.
I would spend hours in Audacity, which is the free software we used, trying to fix the audio and the background noise, because that's the thing about that mic as well. It picked up everything in the background.
Right. Well, yeah, any of those mics that are going to pick up a room full of people, table, full of people, are going to pick up like all of the background noise because they're trying to pick up everything.
Yeah. So trying to clean that up, which, as you know, if you try and compress anything and you do it too much, you end up sounding like you're underwater.
Right.
So we had a bit of that, and I think it took us, even after we got proper equipment, I think it took me 30 episodes to get it right, where I can just set it and forget it.
Well, that's one of the things you've gone through quite a bit of hardware, trying to figure out what's going to work, and including actually frying one of your mixers.
Yes, Samuel, frying the mixer, a Behringer. I think it was a 1204 USB mixer, which should be a hard-wearing mixer, eh, Sam?
Nothing can survive us.
No.
That'll be broken in 10 episodes.
I think that's actually what Land Monkey said he's using for his studio.
Yeah, he's got the one we got was, because there was 4 of us, we got the 4-channel. I think it's actually 8-channel, but
it's 8.
Yeah.
You can plug 4 mics into it. It's a bit more advanced than the one Land Monkey's got, just because it's got the more channels on it. It's also got things like mute, and you can mute each channel, which is useful. As you probably heard on some of the shows, Sam muted me a lot. And it came with a built-in compressor as well for each channel.
A very nice feature to have for sure.
Yeah.
The mute for me has been one of those mandatory functions. I don't want to have to like pot up and down every time I want to cough.
Which is part of the problem we've got now. This mixer we've got now is a Alesis Multi-Mix 8 and has no mute on any of the channels.
Ooh.
So as you say, up and down with the fader.
Well, no, we just turned the recorder off.
Yeah, we just paused the recorder now, but when there was more of us, it was easy just to mute the channel.
True.
Yeah, well, and the pausing the recorder doesn't work on a live recording.
No, exactly.
Kind of
Which is why we don't do live recording.
Well, that's another thing that's fairly unusual in the current batch of geocaching podcasts, is that you're recording segments essentially and piecing it together. Most of the current shows are recorded live.
Yeah, I can't remember which ones. I think it might have been Scott and Walt was the only other one at the time. Oh, and Podcasher. Yeah,
Podcasher does the same thing.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that was a little later. I was going to say Cache and Release started out doing it that way.
Right. Right, because they're live now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're live now, and that was more a factor of Gary Slinkard joined the show, and so they had 2 different hosts in 2 different locations, and at that point, it might as well just go live.
Yeah, exactly. And that part of the problem we've got with going live, apart from him,
No, you
and his mouth is
you can't edit your mistakes out.
okay. I can't edit my mistakes out. Yes, you can't tell lies when Sam's around either. Is that it's quite crammed here. We're in the corner of the room, as you can see, and getting us both in the same shot and being close to the mics is quite difficult.
He's bigger than me. I'm not. That's the problem.
You're not bigger than yourself?
You're not bigger than yourself, Sam.
Well,
I keep getting caught up in.
Oh, there's so many good jokes to be made from that one.
I'm not.
But you mentioned the microphones, and I forget which one that was that you started with, that USB mic quickly went away, and I think you're still using the same ones that you'd picked up shortly after that. Which mics did you end up going with?
I am. I know I am. You're not.
We got 3 Behringers. You could probably still get them. A pack of 3 Behringer mics, dynamic, which we've been using on and off for a long time, depending what my mood is. And they were about, I think they were about £40.
I think one's broken. That's it.
For all 3, it was like £40 if I remember.
Yeah, and then the decent mics. I mean, the kids dropped them and whatnot, and I wasn't too fussed about. Sam's now on a Shure SM58.
Oh, very nice.
Because it's a hard-wearing mic, and it needs to be with Sam.
No, it
Those
doesn't.
58s are kind of the standard for people starting out with a podcast, because they are very good sounding microphones, not terribly expensive, and very durable.
And it's one that if you see a lot of musicians they use if they're not on a radio mic, and you can drop this thing, and I think the grill on that one's dented as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
Have a look.
No, you can't have a look because it'll be terrible just ruffling. And I am on a Q2U.
I shall be back.
He's going to go and sort the dog out.
Yeah, Murray the dog is apparently trying to get into the interview.
Yeah, this is why we don't do live either, because we've got 4 cats and a dog, and it's chaos in here at times. So that sort of thing, we can pause, edit out, and carry on with the show.
Sure. Well, and I've got my dog comes in every so often and decides that it's time for him to go for his evening walk during a recording, and just curls up and waits for me. So it's not too bad, but I know how bad that could get.
Yeah, I couldn't do live in this place. So
actually, a quick story. I think you were watching one time when we were at the old place. I had one of the cats crawl up my shoulder during a live show.
Yeah. Oh, we've had that. We've had all sorts. And then Sam starts to move around a bit.
I do not much.
See, and this is one of the reasons when you have a live show, you want at least 2 hosts to not be in the same room, so that when something goes drastically wrong at one, you can carry on the show.
Was it Caching in the Northwest where 2 of the hosts' connection died? And
Probably.
Wits End had to be sat there on his own for a while.
Yeah, I seem to recall that one now.
Yeah. Live shows, it's stressful enough doing the pre-recorded, but
well, the pre-recorded has the downside of all of that editing.
You say that.
That's a good point. That's a good thing for us.
Yeah, we don't edit as much as you'd think. There have been shows, say when Scott's been on.
Definitely when Scott's been on.
That last show when Scott was on, the last one we did was a good 3 hours editing.
Wow.
Just because I'm not going to say the word on air. Some of the words he used at the beginning weren't
child friendly.
Weren't anything friendly.
Oh yeah.
So
well, the word you used today wasn't very child friendly either.
No, it wasn't, Sam. I'm going to edit that out. But what? Never work with kids, eh?
I'll give you a hint. It starts with an F and ends with a K.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, and those aren't words that you can use anymore if you want to be available in a lot of different podcast stores.
Yeah, Apple's dog, all right.
Yes.
Go and let him in. Apple's changed the rules, haven't they? For certain countries like India and China, is it?
Yeah, it's not really that they've changed the rules. It's the rules have changed in those countries.
Right.
So they can't make explicit shows available in those countries.
So now when you put a explicit tag on one show, it applies to all of them, doesn't it?
Correct. Anytime there's explicit, that whole show gets pulled from India. I can't remember the others. There's like 2 or 3 others, but India is a big market. Not so much for GeoGearHeads, but it's a big market with a lot of tech savvy people. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
I think China might be another one, actually.
I thought it was China. I thought it was.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, there's like a total of 3 or 4 countries. But India was the one that got the attention first and foremost, because a lot of people saw their listenership totally drop off because they were losing, hundreds of listeners. And it's because the store had blocked them because they had the explicit tag.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the things I know you. We're going to discuss it later, but this is one of the things I've learned as we've gone along is you've got to be aware of the rules and how they change and how the technology changes. I know the cover art, for example, keeps changing in size, doesn't it? The requirements.
Yeah. Well, and that one's really screwy because they'll change the requirements and they'll not actually document everything. And it's not just the iTunes store, but some of the other stores will do the same type of thing.
Yeah.
They'll change the maximum size. They'll change what they want, but they won't tell you that there's minimum requirements, and they won't tell you that there's a maximum threshold for things like the file size.
So it was bits like that when we were starting, learning all that sort of detail.
Yeah. It's not easy to figure out a lot of that stuff, and it is in part that it changes. You'll find a tutorial or something that's 6 months old, and it doesn't have valid information anymore. Yeah.
That's exactly. So you could put a cover art into your MP3 ID3 tag, and it could invalidate your feed 1 week.
Yeah, absolutely, and get you delisted from different stores. And also the cover art that you're actually putting into the MP3s gives you some troubles. If you have too big a file, too big a JPEG or whatever that you're throwing into that as your artwork, there are certain players that can't handle it.
Yeah, it's Sam doesn't have to bother with all this. He just gets to handle the dog when he's being annoying. Sam records and then leaves.
So let's talk about that real quick. What are your roles on the OB podcast?
Anything controversial that said he edits, he gets all the hate comments. Anything behind the scenes, basically.
Sam, as I said, Sam just turns up, records, leaves, and then it's up to me to do everything else.
I pack my stuff away.
Oh, you pack your mic away.
It's better than what they do at radio stations, where the presenters come, record, leave, and don't even clean their stuff up. Terrible.
So there you go, Darryl. I do the show notes. I'll do the recording, and then I'll do the post-edit, cover art, publish it.
And I'll take care of any problems that happen during the recording.
And then he gets all the credit for being the talent.
Of course, because he's the more temperamental one, right?
Yeah.
I'm the one who says the things, and he's the one who cleans them up. I'm like the Jeremy Clarkson.
Do you want to do something with that dog? Give him the lead.
I've taken it off him and put it in the middle of the table.
Again, this is why we can't do live.
It is very entertaining to watch, though.
That's the good thing.
Yeah. I doubt any of your other in this podcast in this series will be quite like this.
Chaotic.
I'm sure we'll have at least a couple more.
Nah, I think we'll win.
You haven't got Scott and Walt on, have you?
Not yet, but I'm kind of hoping that I can get the two of them together to talk about their show. Yeah, I do want to go back and try to get some of those old shows. I think I mentioned in the last one, like Slaga and Twin Cities. And if I recall, Twin Cities was actually kind of one of your inspirations as well.
Yeah, Twin Cities was pretty much like ours, but it was father and daughter, wasn't it?
Yeah, they started early on and had gone through some personal changes. I think they actually moved like at least once, maybe twice. He'd gone through a few different job changes, so it was really sporadic coming out. And the kids got involved, and who was involved has changed. So yeah, that was a fun show to listen to and kind of watch the family grow up a little bit too.
I think that's part of the appeal for me. And listening to that show as well, you do over the years get to hear how the family's developing and growing up, and how the family works together.
Well, and you actually had Sophie, as we mentioned earlier, on the show, but she kind of just went away.
Left.
Yeah, she really lost interest. She actually got shy, is what happened.
So she decided that she didn't want people to hear her.
Yeah, she became a teenager and suddenly didn't want to be heard.
On the mic.
Yeah, which happens.
And not even the hot chocolate bribes could fix it.
No, I get her on now and again when she feels like it.
See, that's the advantage of me.
She gets on now and again when you're not on, oddly enough.
True.
I think it might have been you that drove her away.
It is not me.
We'll see.
It's not me.
Oh my.
Which is the advantage with Sam. Anytime he can get in front of a mic, he's there. Or a camera.
Not necessarily a camera, but yes, mic. Definitely.
Yes.
Including Periscope, which you guys were some of the first to actually really start using Periscope.
I love Periscope. It's awesome.
Yes, Sam. Yeah. It was. I mean, we started, I think, Meerkat, and I'm not sure whether you told me about Periscope and we got onto it. But some of the stuff we've recorded has been like when Sam fell out of it wasn't even a tree, was it? It was a structure.
It was a what looked like a water cooling like the base of a water cooling tower made of bricks.
Yeah, when Sam fell out of that live on air, things like that.
That was funny.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. But Meerkat, I have the feeling, isn't going to last very long because they're trying to pivot now and keep themselves alive.
Are they?
But they were about a 3 or 4 month lead on Periscope?
Yeah, I mean, it was was it beginning of last year? But I think they were the end of the year before, 2014.
Maybe, I don't really recall. But Periscope took off, and Meerkat just never really did.
Yeah, I mean, just recently Facebook started theirs, haven't they?
Yeah, the Facebook Live, which is actually quite a bit different. And there's advantages and disadvantages to each, but I do like that Facebook's videos never go away.
Yeah, and it pins it to the top of your page and things like that.
Yeah. So it's got, especially if you've got a big audience in Facebook, it has the feature set that a lot of those people are going to like, but all indications so far is it's just not picking up traction.
I've used it once as a tester, and I just prefer Periscope.
Yeah, and then almost everyone's responses.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of features, but it's not competing with Periscope. Periscope's better. I wonder if that's going to change, though, after the BuzzFeed broadcast that I think just happened yesterday, because a lot of the social media crew is just buzzing about that BuzzFeed feed.
Oh, I've not seen that. Were they doing a recording on Facebook then?
Yeah, it was Facebook Live. It got tweeted out, and people just started pouring in. And all it was wrapping rubber bands around a watermelon.
No,
it's like
Simple. What?
No, Sam, we're not.
People doing that.
Simple.
We're not doing it.
No,
Sam.
we're going to do that.
Facebook Live, Sam, get on it.
I might.
No, because you can't use actually Periscope on your phone, can you?
No, not yet.
No,
not yet.
I don't think you can use Facebook Live yet either.
I don't know. I don't know if it's on the Windows yet.
Yeah, I think it's only iOS and Android right now.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
You know the good thing about that though?
What?
I get the refined product.
Or just don't get it at all.
No, I get the refined product when it comes out.
Yes, Sam.
In 2 years.
Yes.
And unfortunately, no more geocaching official apps for you.
Yeah.
So you can't geocache now. You can't periscope. Well, you didn't geocache before, so you can't really do much on
Yeah,
that.
but the app was much more accurate than yours.
Not much point if you can't use it.
It was more accurate.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the point of accuracy if it doesn't do you any good because you can't hunt a cache with it?
Yeah.
Well, if you can't hunt cache with it, it's not very good. But you could hunt the cache with it.
There's always a way to work around that, right?
There is always. It just uses my phone.
No,
I was going to say it's usually called, go out with someone else who has a phone that does work.
Yeah.
my phone does work. It's right
And this is something else you'll find on the show if you ever listen to us. Is this phone?
right here.
This Nokia phone is like.
It's a great phone. Look, the case matches the phone itself. Blue. Just a darker blue.
See, and that's the real test of whether a phone is quality or not, is whether the case matches the color of the phone.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter if it actually works or not, as long as
No.
the case matches the phone.
And my phone lasts my battery lasts much longer than you.
Yeah, because you can't use the phone.
I was
How I can. In a survival situation, I will win.
Well, you're gonna beat a bear to death with the thing.
That's another use for it, yes, but no, that was not my purpose.
He can
If I was
take it
gonna-
apart, use the charge left in the battery to burn the case, and
Yeah.
have his fire so he stays warm.
I'm thinking it's more style over substance. That Sam.
No.
Anyway, Devil. Podcast.
That's another thing about this podcast.
What?
as the randomness.
Yeah, yeah. That was one thing over the years is how we've managed to get to a format we're comfortable with at last.
A format that ends up changing frequently with the rat holes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we have a set sort of. We're going to do this week. We never do, but we have a
Yeah.
set. A bit like Scott and Walt and Podcasher with theirs. You have when you pre-record, you do have a set thing.
And they go through that in order.
yeah.
We
But
don't.
It took us a long time to get to that sort of what we were going to do because we were doing interviews and then we were doing topics like yourselves every other week, and eventually we found a format that worked for us.
Make it up as you go along.
Well, and at one point you were trying to do the show weekly. Another time it was every other week.
And now it's,
And
Whenever.
now it's just kind of whenever you guys can get together to record.
yeah, which is I realised Sam's not been on since the 5th of February.
Wow. Has it been that long?
Yeah, since Sam was on.
So that's a couple of months as we're recording.
Yeah, we've managed to keep the show going somehow. I don't know how.
Well, one way was that you had Scott on, which involved lots of editing.
Yes.
Which
And,
always
and you
does.
and you complain about having me record.
More editing than does Sam.
I don't actually edit Sam that much.
Thank you very much. It's
We-
he edits himself.
The one of the tricks that people don't tell you about when you start is you can actually just stop for 10 seconds, leave a space in the audio, and that tells you exactly where you need to edit and delete. It's a very useful trick, and it saves so much time scrubbing back through the audio because all you do is go straight to the points you need to go to.
Yeah, you take a look for those obvious dips in the audio that just stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, exactly. And now as well, we do a lot of because I think a lot of podcasters use it. Boss Jock.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've connected it all in, and I've used that as a soundboard, and a lot of it just goes straight to the recording now, rather than adding the audio in later for the segments, the music, and that during the show.
See, I keep thinking I should do that just for the simplicity, but I've stuck with the drop it in post to get the maximum quality.
Well,
And
yeah.
It does, it does take so much more time, especially when we've got more than like one or two voicemails that come in.
Mhm.
So much more time to do it that way.
Yeah. One thing I use in post production is Orphonic.
Yeah, that's a very popular post tool. Which does a lot of sweetening of the audio with the things like the compression, but it also does the MP3 creation, if I recall.
You can, if you're one of these, if you're in mind that you're just going to record it and then release it with Orphonic, you can, if you've got the desktop version, you can add the front end music, back end music, and put it onto MP3 straight out of that software. So you don't have to do anything else to it apart from upload it to Libsyn or Blueberry or whatever your media host is.
Well, if I recall, even that's kind of murky because you can actually do some of that on the web and have it auto post to Libsyn.
Yeah, if you use the web version of it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, for a lot of people looking to record from their phones, it's a great way to get everything done all in one fall swoop.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they have an app, don't they, for the phone?
I think I had seen something about one coming. I don't know that I've ever played with it.
I've not man, there's that many apps now for podcasting. You could get lost if you went the same with apps the same way you go with equipment. You could have a phone full of apps.
Well, I do, and it's largely geocaching apps.
Podcasting ones. But I know Spreaker have got one. You've got if the Boss Jock, you've got all sorts of ways you can record a podcast, haven't you?
Oh yeah, and a lot of people just use the voice memo app to record their segments and then put it together from that.
Yeah. I know we've done that when we've been out and about.
Well, and you've also changed the way that you host your podcast.
In what regard?
You started out, I think, with some kind of self-rolled package to actually do your hosting.
Oh, we used Buzzsprout or something like that, which was meant to be an all-in-one solution, and it was free.
Free is always good, but you paid for it in your time, if I recall.
Yeah, it was a bit of it was difficult to use. and they messed around with your file as well. So the audio was changed as well. The quality was reduced, which back then you probably wouldn't have noticed. And you didn't get control of your feed. So if you wanted to leave, we'd lost all the feed. So we had to create a new feed again.
Right. Which is one of the things I think we talked about on the last profile. Was some people just have to drop that audio file in to say, hey, we've moved our feed. Please go over here.
Yeah. So we didn't even have that chance because I cancelled it and then not realised I'd lost the feed.
Oh.
Whoops.
Oopsie.
Yeah. So we went over to Libsyn, which is one of the more established, probably joint biggest or the biggest now, isn't it?
Yeah, they are the biggest host, and part of why they can claim that is they have some of the biggest shows, including they're doing hosting for NPR. They don't do the websites for those shows. They just host the files, and in some cases, even the feeds.
Yeah, I mean, they've got what probably, in my mind, the biggest show of last year when they got Obama on Mark Maron, didn't they?
Yeah, that was the biggest single episode. It broke all of the previous stats, if I recall.
Yeah, I mean, that was ridiculous.
Sorry? You go. Yeah.
No, it's just that must have tested their system to the limit. So if they can cope with that, they're going to be able to cope with the few hundred we've got on listening to our show.
Sure.
Yeah. So you say something?
You're still doing the separate web hosting, though, correct?
Yeah. That was actually more out of luck because my brother-in-law's a web developer, so we got that free.
Oh, there you go. That's always handy.
These are the things that when you start, you don't realize, because we were using Blogger as a web site at first and just dropping in the embed code.
Right.
Then we moved over to this and used WordPress and things like that, which makes it so much more flexible, and you can use your own domain name.
Sure. Yeah. But the trick is you still do have to go and manually copy and cross some of that code. It's not an automatic transfer.
No, you can. We do it automatic now.
Oh, that's right, because they do have the WordPress support now on Libsyn.
We use. Well, let me just get this up. No, sorry.
No problem. This is the
like,
inside baseball portion of the show.
There was an old media player, because we had problems with our website. When I was trying, because we use, anybody who is interested, you can use PowerPress, can't you, as the player on your website?
Right.
And for some reason, whenever I was trying to copy and paste the MP3 over the link, it was crashing, and it could take 2 or 3 hours just to get it back up and running.
Yike.
Yeah. So, my mouse has stopped working. Typical. There is so I got this plugin, and it simple podcast press. And what that'll do is you'll link it into your Libsyn feed, and it'll pull everything over and automatically publish it for you and your show notes. And
Very
it'll give you
nice.
all sorts of links underneath the player for your social media and things like that, and feedback and whatnot.
Yeah, which is one of those things that really annoys me about the Libsyn implementation.
Yeah, their player, you mean?
Well, yeah, just even their blog posts. You don't have the reshare links and stuff that come up across the bottom.
No, but they've updated their player, haven't they, to incorporate all that?
Yeah, the player now supports that, but you have to have the new player embedded at the bottom.
Ah, right. Yeah. So we do, for some reason, you can't get away from having the Libsyn site, can you?
Well, you can, but it's all a matter of how much pain do you want to endure.
Yeah, ours is there, but we never point anyone towards it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and you're just using it as the CDN, the Content Delivery Network.
Yeah. So we use that simple podcast press for the player because it was a solution to the problem at the time. And then a couple of weeks after I got that, I worked out the problem was something I'd set up in WordPress early doors, and learned that the hard way 50 or 60 episodes in that eventually that will break PowerPress.
Yeah, all the problems we have, he's caused.
Yes, Sam, I've caused every problem. And it started about 16 years ago.
No, 15 years ago.
15 years ago, Sam. It started about then. Yes. That was the first problem I caused.
No. But
Well, you're not on the you don't have your own. Well, you do have your own website, don't you? Is it a Google?
Well, we have a Google site for the GeoGearHeads, but all of the delivery and everything still goes through Libsyn. Then we just have the Stitcher player on the front of the GeoGearHeads.
Yeah. Well, there's another one, isn't Stitcher? You can go down so many rabbit holes of where you can put your content.
Well, yeah, Stitcher doesn't do the hosting, even though they re-encode everything. It's just essentially the pod catcher, but not nearly as versatile as I wish it were as a pod catcher.
No. Well, I mean, we're on there, but very little traffic comes from that.
Yeah, we have the same thing, really. It fluctuates, but what we find is most of the people who start with Stitcher don't stay with Stitcher very long. They end up getting hooked into podcasts enough that they move over to a full-fledged podcatching app of some type.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, have you got your GeoGearHeads app?
No, we do not have an app. We talk about it on and off, but just decided that it's not really worth it for us.
No, I mean, because I went gung ho on everything early doors, and we've got one, Sam.
That's what makes our podcast better.
No, it really isn't. But we've got the free one, the one that's free for us to do, so people have to pay for it.
Right.
But if you want the full app and develop your own app, you've got to have the Apple developer thing, haven't you? What's that, £50 a year?
I think they might have changed that, and there's a free one now.
Right. And then you've got to pay a fee to Libsyn, which is above and beyond the hosting fee. And
right. But even that stuff has changed just in the last 6 months. I believe they've decided to eliminate the free tier.
Oh, right.
And now it's just the custom apps. And they've changed even the pricing on that now.
Yeah, so there's all sorts you can do. I mean, I was interested enough to actually, play with these things and see what works and see what doesn't. So I wouldn't recommend it, though, unless you've a few years down the line and you've got a massive audience.
Well, and if you've got the massive audience, then what's necessarily the point of having the app? Because really the app is mostly about the discovery in the App Store rather than just in the podcast listings.
Well, that's what I don't understand with the apps. Because I know Libsyn recommend everyone has an app. and I'm not going to be looking in the App Store for podcasts.
It might just be one of those things.
But
Yeah,
it's
maybe-
it's more about when someone goes to like the Play Store and says, "I want geocaching apps." It's going to show up as that, and then you can hook them from the the interest that they're searching for.
Yeah, I wonder how much traffic you get from that though.
Well, and it really, I think, does depend. And when you have more savvy listeners, like we feel we do with GeoGearHeads, most of our audience tends to know what podcasting is before they're going to come to us. If they're not familiar with podcasting, they're more likely to go to a different show.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it is an extra fee, especially if you're not getting any revenue from your show. Is it worth that extra fee to you? That could be something that you put into something else, like the gas tank for your Geomobile.
And all the mixers, Sam breaks.
I do not break them.
All of the mixers?
Well, yeah.
What you don't know is we've had about 10.
Yeah, no. We have a spare one upstairs just in case.
Is that the one we broke?
No, that's the one that I bought and forgot to take back.
Oh yes.
I keep a spare one, but that's because, well, I've had too many hardware failures over the years.
And because you've got spares of everything by the looks of the scenery behind you.
I do keep spares of almost every piece of critical equipment. I have a spare cable modem sitting downstairs and a spare router because if that goes out just before a show, I am up a creek.
Yeah, that's not good. That again, the live thing. It just, there's too much stressful about it to do.
Yeah, it does change the way the dynamic works, and there's nothing I enjoy more than doing the occasional live show with the live audience, like Geo Woodstock. Oh, I never want to do one that big again, because that one, we had to drive like a full day from here to the venue. We just scoped it out that night, went back to hotel. That morning we had to set up for, I think we did a dozen different recordings live on stage that day. So I had to set up the rig for about 8 different shows to use, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how you've done that.
And then we tear it down and go back home the next day.
Yeah, no, we're never doing that, Sam, by the way. No.
That was not one I'm going to ever redo. But we did some smaller ones, like Xpunk X and I did a live geocaching podcast just from like the back room of a coffee shop type of situation. And light, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. We've done we've appeared on UK Geocaching Podcast.
Is that the one I fell asleep in?
No, Sam, that was GeoGearHeads you fell asleep on.
Oh yes.
Yeah. We did out in the field on Google Hangouts
That was funny.
on a mobile phone, dialing into a UK Geocaching Podcast episode.
That is a lot of fun.
And it was I don't know what it sounded like to listen to it live on Google Hangouts or watch it live, because we couldn't get video out there. We were in the middle of the woods, but we got audio, and I can only imagine, you've got somebody going out and you're actually listening to them and taking part in them geocaching during a podcast recording.
Okay, well, this gets actually into something else. What do you guys do for your geocaching, since Scott claims that geocaching podcasters never go geocaching?
We don't record anymore, obviously.
See, that's the thing, is you don't record if you're caching, and you don't cache if you're recording.
Exactly.
Right.
I've got, when Scott was on that show, because it was on our show, wasn't it? He said that.
He said it, I think, more than once, but yeah, he did mention it for sure that last time.
When he said it, he's probably right. I mean, I go through phases with geocaching. I lose interest. I don't know if any of the hosts do, but I lose interest, and it's usually after some milestone. So when we did the
Katie Pal Trail.
Well, I did an August where I got the most caches I'd ever got in a month. And for about 3 months after that, I'd got sick of seeing geocaches. I don't know how Scott does 100 odd caches a month or whatever he does. And then we did the KT Power Trail where we did 100 odd, 140 in a day. And I didn't want to do any geocaches after that.
Yeah.
And this year we did the Europe's Oldest in Ireland. And once I'd found the Europe's Oldest, it was like, it's going to have to be something pretty special for me to go geocaching now.
Well, and that seems to be fairly common with a lot of the cachers. You talked with most of the people who do something like the ET Highway.
Yeah.
And they're just burned out. One of the guys out here who had done the ET Highway years ago went into a 3-month hiatus from geocaching. He's like, I just don't want to see another cache.
Yeah, and you get like that, and it's difficult if you're trying to record a geocaching podcast and you've got no geocaching to talk about.
that it is. And Sam, if I recall, you just don't want to log your cache finds.
Why should I?
Well, there you go.
If you can answer me that, I'll log in.
If you haven't actually logged it on the listing service, have you actually found the geocache?
Well, yes.
Well, you don't actually find them either.
Well, what about those people who don't go out and find them? And log them, but don't find them?
They're called sofa caches, aren't they?
Yes, those people.
Well,
see,
that's how they want to play the game, Sam.
So maybe those should be the people podcasting.
Yeah. Perhaps you could find them and they could log them on your account for you.
Yes.
There you go. You need to team up.
Best of both worlds.
Yes.
There you go. We actually had this debate earlier on today when we recorded our show today. I thought it was 16 Sam had logged. It's 20.
Ooh.
Yeah. You see, you doubt me.
And the last one he logged was May last year.
Well,
and it was
maybe if he had a phone with an app that actually worked for geocaching, he could log.
Actually, they're all.
No answer to that. No answer.
15 of those caches were logged on the phone.
And then the app stopped working and he couldn't log anymore.
No.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's all about the phone.
No. The other 5 were logged here and there.
Sam, what's the biggest thing you've learned while podcasting? So now he's shut up now. Let's get on with the
show. Offend people.
Okay, so if someone wanted to suggest or to start a podcast, what would you suggest to them to do as a new show getting out for the first time?
Make it funny.
There you go. Make it funny.
That's it.
If it's funny, people will like it.
I would personally
make it professional.
Yeah, like we did.
Yeah.
Find some sort of guru, podcasting guru, somebody who can guide you and show you the way.
And don't spend a lot of money on him or her.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's that many how-to podcasts that you should be able to find somewhere or one site that is you can do it all for free.
What's that one you listen to? The podcast that you listen to?
I used to when I started because I wanted to learn how to use Audacity. There was a podcast called Audacity to Podcast.
Yep.
And it's still around, and I got so many little tips and tricks from that, and the little bits of equipment you can get and whatnot. The problem is, I heard this phrase earlier in the week. I've got gas.
Okay. Acquisition syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. And I see a bit of gear, and I need to have that little new bit of. You're the same, Devil. You know what it's like.
Yeah, that's why you listen to GeoGearHeads.
Yeah,
it's got gear right in the title.
Exactly, which is one of the first podcasts I listened to was GeoGearHeads, and I'm thinking it's a whole podcast about gear. It used to be geocaching gear, and now it's podcast gear of a podcast I hardly record anymore.
Well, I will say this: if you get good quality equipment, you don't need to replace it very often, and it makes your life as a podcaster easier.
Yeah, we were unfortunate with that mixer. It should have lasted longer than it did. Yeah. I think it was a faulty mixer, and the unfortunate thing is it was out of its year's warranty or guarantee. So replacing it, I wasn't going to get it on parts and whatnot. But we're unfortunate. You get a Behringer mixer, and they're pretty sturdy machines.
You know what you could do? You could take it apart and sell it for
No,
parts.
I'm not going to do that, Sam.
Why not?
There's not many parts in a mixer anymore that are modular that you can use for anything.
I think I could take that mixer apart and sell everything.
What you
No,
should do
or
is
you-
take the
or
mixer
find a-
apart, see how it works, and see if you can fix it.
You could.
And if not, turn it into a geocache container.
That's a good. Dad, we should do that.
We should do that, should we, Sam?
We should do that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Everything needs to be repurposed as a geocache.
I was just wondering there if you were expecting to find valves and things in the mixer.
No, I was expecting to find wires
Okay, Sam.
and
You'd be
Mother
surprised how
board
few of
as well.
those there are in a mixer these days.
Yeah,
True.
yeah. I'm surprised. I was surprised how big the mixer was, considering how little there should be in there. But yeah, the equipment should last. It's that mic Sam's got will last for a lifetime, or as long as we're recording.
Yeah.
The Behringer mics, they were perfectly solid mics, perfectly good mics, and they produced a good sound.
Well, one of the, well, more than one, but the general consensus among audio guys that I've worked with is Behringer makes great stuff for like bands to use on the road.
Yeah.
It's hardy, durable stuff. It doesn't sound necessarily as clean as like a Mackie does,
Mm.
and it costs a lot less.
Yeah.
And it can still take a beating, but when it does take a beating and stops working, you can just replace it.
Yeah, it's cheap enough. I think
Yeah.
that other mixer we've got spare, it was about £50. If
Yeah,
you
you
had
can get some good quality stuff now for not a whole lot of money.
yeah, I mean, if I was setting up again, I'd get one of those small mixers. If I knew it was just me and Sam, because you plug two mics in there, you're away. I'd get a couple of these Q2 mics, Q2U, which I think over there is the ATR 2400, I think it's called.
Yeah, yeah.
Which this one cost £45, and it comes with the cable. Randomly, it came with headphones.
Well, it was probably one of those kits for
Yeah.
podcasters or something.
Yeah, so it's
Which isn't
£45.
necessarily a bad spot to start as a podcaster.
No, and the beauty about sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, you can always come up with a better kit for yourself if you go and part it out, but you might not come up, as cheap, or you might come out cheaper, but it's not as easy. And just starting out.
Yeah, and the beauty about this mic is it's a XLR and a USB.
Yes.
So you don't even need the mixer. You can plug it straight into the back of the computer if you need to.
Right. And that's really handy if you're going to go out and do podcasts from like the hotel room.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'd have bought two of those mics if I had already got the Shure for Sam.
Yep. And you don't need all the compression with the dynamic mics like that.
No, exactly.
So if you were to do it again, would you?
Yes.
yes.
And purely because sitting with him every week or whenever we record has been one of the best experiences I've ever had.
You know what we should do?
And he's off again.
You know what we should do?
Of course.
Every
What should
time.
you do?
For a special episode,
Yeah,
100 maybe, a special episode 100,
yeah.
we should get all our best bits, the best laughs, everything, all the best bits.
Well volunteered, son.
Good work, Dad.
You have the ideas and I'll do the work, shall I?
Yep.
Yeah.
See, that's the idea. I'm the brain, you're the muscle.
Okay, but would you do it again on geocaching?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. It's something we can do as a family and we can talk about. It's simple. I mean, geocaching isn't complicated to talk about, is it?
No. Finding new subjects might be, especially when you're not geocaching.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can talk about not geocaching as geocaching episodes too.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to all dip into Pinterest for our content, would we?
Yeah, there's a limit at how many times you can go to that well.
I've sorry, Andy, throw you under the bus there.
Or BuzzFeed, or
Yeah.
read from other people's blogs. I can't remember. There was a show that I could tell he was nearing the end because he was going to like other people's blogs and reading the entries on geocaching.
Oh, we've all done it though. I mean, we had because when we were trying to do weekly topics,
We've always done it though.
Yeah,
still
but
do it.
we have sections where we don't necessarily have to talk about geocaching, which is the fun part.
That is true.
But when we were trying to do topics, we sat there one week and we read out the
Whole article.
the code, the countryside code,
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that.
and it was as dull as dishwater. And we sat there going, "Yes, and you must take your trash with you." And so I got to the end of it when we released it. I listened to it. I thought, "Wow, why did we do that?" And I think that's the point where I realized we need to find some better thing to do on the podcast. This is awful. Well, I think everybody's done it.
Oh, but yeah, and there's some really valuable information to get out. It's not, we're not saying don't do like, we did a whole show once with the Tread Lightly organization, but we had one of the reps from that organization on to talk with us about it. So it's really important information to get out there.
Yeah,
but you have to find a way to make that entertaining enough, and it doesn't always work no matter how hard you try.
I think if we'd have had Sophie on and we could have got Sam and Sophie going backwards and forwards like they used to, then I think that one would have been a better show. But
it would certainly have been more entertaining, though maybe not as informative.
No, it was a difficult subject to broach, and I don't think we were the podcast to do it.
You've got to make when you do stuff like that, you've got to get the information across and make it your own.
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we didn't. We just literally read it, and it was.
We got the information across in a boring way.
Yeah.
So, how about predictions for where podcasting and geocaching podcast more specifically might be going in the future?
Go on, Sam. You can answer that.
Can I?
No, you obviously can't. No.
Oh, I thought you meant like, you have information for that.
Could you answer it?
Maybe.
Are you going to?
Maybe.
Right.
Hoverboards.
So you're suggesting that podcasts are going to be recorded from hoverboards or consumed by hoverboards?
Consumed by hoverboards. They will be recorded by hoverboards.
Oh, interesting. Autonomous podcasting.
I think it'll be a lot easier.
What?
Less cables, less.
Oh, you've gone serious now.
Yeah.
Sorry, you need to tell us when you've gone serious, because I thought, how's hoverboard podcasting going to be easier?
Well, this ties into what my serious point.
Pardon? Ties into your serious
Yes,
point.
my serious point and my non-serious point with hoverboards. It'll be easy because it'll be like less cables. You'll be able to do it more freely, less time taken, like we do. So, like hoverboards, you could do it on the go.
Yes, you could.
And
I
everyone
just want the autonomous podcast studio so that I can podcast while I'm between caches.
No, that'd be good. That'd be good. Yeah. I would love to be able to use Boss Jock in the way it's meant to be used and have the microphone plugged into the iPhone. And as you say, be able to record while I'm out. And you can use Boss Jock to automatically publish, can't you?
Sure.
I would love to be able to do that. But for some reason, I'm mentally incapable of setting that app up to do what I want it to do.
And here I thought it was that you were incapable of recording a show that did need some editing.
Well, yeah, there's that as well. But I do not have the mental capacity to make that work. I'm not sure why. I've tried it several times. I would love to be able to be. I'm out geocaching right now and publish it right then, like you do with Periscope.
Sure. Yeah. But not stream it live. Just have it available live.
Yeah.
But it was something we didn't talk about is Patreon, which both of us are using now. And I put, this is going out as bonus content through Patreon in large part so that it's not going to clutter the GeoGearHeads feed.
Yeah.
But it's also because that's kind of where I want to put all the bonus stuff now. It's the extras on the DVD is now going to be Patreon.
Yeah.
And that does let you do some of that kind of stuff. But you could always have a secondary blog set up for it.
Yeah. It's knowing where to strike the line, isn't it? With where you put your product or your content.
Right.
I mean, I know I've struggled with the Patreon content on what to do for it. Because I mean, it's time to record a podcast, which I don't know, excuses. When you've got 4 kids and the work full time and things like that, time to record a podcast, as you know, is difficult. And I know Chris talked about it on his on the Caching Northwest show when now they had difficulty getting recording monthly.
Right. Yeah. It's the scheduling can be
the
biggest part of it.
It's getting the content for the Patreons as well, or the patrons.
Right. Well, and Patreon lets you do both the content for just those who donate to the show, and it lets you do the public stuff.
Yeah.
So where's the line at which it's going to be private, and where's the line that is going to be public content?
Yeah, exactly. What I do sometimes is if it's I'm wanting to promote the show, I'll make certain bits public. It might be like the outtakes from when Scott was on.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's like the good stuff that I think should be on like a bonus material.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it doesn't necessarily need to be in the show. And one of the things that we've struggled with on a couple of the shows, and I can't remember which ones. I know we had some of it that we tried with the Geocaching Podcast way back in the day. And I think we had done it with Cache Maniacs, is when we started putting out some of that bonus content, we actually would lose subscribers.
Really?
Because now we're off topic. It's like now they're getting this extra stuff. We were doing it as like bonus content in the feed, not at the end of the show.
Oh, right. So
at the end of the show for like the outtakes, that people expect, they enjoy it.
Yeah.
But if you start putting out like extra shows,
yeah, you almost need a separate feed for that, don't you?
You do, and this is the problem. Is you get some people who are used to downloading your show on that day. Whatever day of the week it is. It might be like a Wednesday if you were dropping on a Monday. So if you're dropping a special feed on like the Wednesday, they're not getting the original show anymore.
Yeah.
So it gets to be a really hairy game that I think most podcasts have to really figure out their audience to know what the right answer is. And I think for most of them, you can't go wrong with having that stuff on a separate website of some type, even if it's just like a blog on the primary website. Just don't drop all that extra stuff necessarily into the feed, because that, I think, is going to cause problems for your audience.
I used on Chasing Smileys SoundCloud
for the bonus stuff.
Just put a few bits on there because it's free. You can chuck it out and chuck a link into the social media, and people get to listen to it, or they don't if they don't want to. But it's not in their main feed, and it's not interrupting their usual show release for them.
A lot of the shows where they're afterlife, everything that happens outside of the show is on something like Facebook. They're just posting all that stuff there, and that works well for those shows. But the primary thing is really don't clutter your feed too much, or it will impact your program.
Which I think is where Periscope has been so beneficial for podcasters.
Yes, and it's really a good promotional tool. Because you throw out there those quick little things. Hey, tonight on this show, we have this, and it brings them to the live show. Or you set up a little. Hey, we just had this great conversation. Look for it in the feed soon. You can get some pushback from that too, because it's a little too promotional. But it does really help.
I mean, that's the thing with the Patreon. You've got to realize, you've got to think about who your audience is, as you say. But I know that if we push Patreon too much, we turn off a lot of the UK listeners.
Yeah.
Because they're not used to the selling.
Right. Well, it's not just the UK customers. It's a lot of podcast listeners in general.
Yeah.
Podcasts started out as just free stuff done from, people's homes, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've had moan a lot. I'm not going to pay for your content. Fair enough. I don't want you to, but you've got to be careful on how far you push it.
Right.
I mean, the other side is that from the things I've listened to with how-to podcasts, if you only mention it once, you're not going to get anything back. The minimum you have to mention anything is 3 times. But then if you mention it too many times, then you'll get feedback the other way, the negative feedback.
Yeah.
It's the balance on your show itself.
Yeah, it's all about the balance, and that's something that you're going to have to strike as you test your audience to find out where those limits are.
And the one, sorry, just to labor a point, the one big thing I learned from one of those how-to podcasts is that the 3% rule in podcasting. And it basically said that take your audience size, and if you're looking for feedback, on average, you get about 3% of the audience giving you feedback. And there's several of those I never didn't believe it at first, that several of those podcasts have actually proved the rule that there's 3%. In a weird sort of way.
Yeah, I don't think we're even at 1%, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not there yet. I don't know what size audience you're going to have to get that, but 3% apparently is the number, the maximum number, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, maximum. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the other one of is it 4 to 1 for every hour you record on the podcast, you've got to do 4 in prep somewhere along the line.
Well, prep or in post, you know. Yeah. So yeah, there's so much work that goes into these shows. Even the quick pick me up and record and push it out, you're still going to be spending as much time recording as you are publishing and taking care of the feeds and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which Sam never has to worry about.
This is why I love the podcast so much.
Yeah.
Just show up, record, and you're done, right?
Yeah, I make it funny, but he makes it logical. Well,
Blimey.
I say logical.
Never thought I'd hear that.
I make it funny. He makes sure it all works.
Yeah, it nearly works.
Almost.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for joining us. Sam, where can people find you?
Feedback at obeep.com.
Or you could go to obeep.com, couldn't you, Sam?
You could. Or the app. The app. We have an app.
And you're not going to push any like Twitter or anything, huh?
Do you even have Twitter?
I don't. No, I did. I did have Twitter.
Do you even have Facebook?
I do have Facebook.
Do you use Facebook?
I do use Facebook.
Well,
because it's the only thing that works on his phone.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
No.
That's your personal account.
No. Instagram works on my phone.
Oh, Instagram.
Skype works. They come pre-installed.
Is there anywhere you'd like people to contact you in social media?
Or find more about you?
Just go to the website.
obeep.com.
Or email him.
He's not going to promote the stalkers, I guess.
No.
Well, why would you want to promote stalkers? Actually, you'll hear about you will hear about how to stop stalkers soon.
I don't know if we might have ours might be out before this, but if you want Sam's advice on how ladies geocaching on their own, listen to episode 90 of the show.
Definitely.
All right, and Mark, you want to post any of your links?
If you go to obeep.com/contact, you can find it all there.
All right. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.